Dear Chosen One, listen carefully. This is not just another message. This is a divine alert that cannot wait. The Spirit revealed that you were at the center of a dark and calculated attack, an operation designed in the shadows with precision meant to take you out. They thought they had you cornered, but what they didn't know is that heaven was already watching, already moving pieces, already breaking chains before they could ever reach you. This is not coincidence. This is prophecy unfolding in real time. Every strange delay, every sudden interruption, every blocked door was God Himself dismantling the enemy's plans. Before you go any further, hit that like button as a declaration that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Because this video is not just words. It is a spiritual shield being activated over your life right now. The truth is, something has already been happening around you, and you need to understand it before it's too late. Have you felt those heavy atmospheres, like someone was watching you, like unseen forces were moving against you? That's because they were. This was no paranoia. It was warfare in the unseen. The enemy wanted to weaken your spirit, to make you doubt yourself, to make you quit before the breakthrough arrived. But here's the mystery. While the enemy was weaving a net of destruction, God was already cutting every thread. Why did the trap collapse before it could touch you? Why did people who plotted suddenly turn against each other? Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal will shake the way you see your own life. And before we go deeper, drop a comment below with the words "Divine Protection," so the enemy knows you stand under the covering of heaven. You are not alone in this battle, Chosen One, and what you are about to hear will explain why everything seemed so intense, so heavy, so impossible, and yet you are still here. This message is urgent, because the truth hidden behind these attacks is bigger than you think. God didn't just stop the plan. He exposed the weakness of your enemies and revealed your true power in the Spirit. By the end of this video, you will see clearly why you were targeted and why you cannot be stopped. Stay with me until the last second, because in the end, you will understand exactly what heaven is saying about your mission. And don't forget to subscribe right now, because messages like this are your lifeline in the storm, your spiritual map through the battlefield, and you cannot afford to miss what God is about to show you. Do you remember the first subtle signs that something wasn't right? People you once trusted began showing coldness in their eyes. Doors that had always opened with ease suddenly slammed shut, and opportunities that looked solid were sabotaged in ways that left you confused. You questioned yourself, wondering if you had done something wrong, but deep down, you felt that eerie sensation, like unseen hands were moving pieces against you. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't coincidence. This was the enemy setting up an operation in the unseen, crafting traps designed to take you out. But the Spirit whispered inside you, "Stay still. Something greater is at work." And that was heaven already stepping in to dismantle what had been built against you. The attack was designed to hit you at your weakest moment, when your heart was heavy, when exhaustion drained your will, when disappointment blinded your vision. The enemy always studies, always waits for those fragile seasons to launch the most devastating strikes. But what the enemy underestimated is the resilience God has been shaping in you through every storm. You are not as fragile as they thought. Every tear became oil for your anointing. Every setback became armor on your soul. Have you ever looked back at a season and thought, "I should not have survived that"? That's because you didn't survive it alone. God intercepted the strike before it could pierce you fully. Picture this: a dark room filled with voices plotting, strategies written with your name in red ink. whispers of destruction swirling like smoke. They believed they had you surrounded, but then the light of heaven broke in like fire, scattering every note, silencing every whisper, and turning confusion upon their camp. That's not imagination. That is what has been happening in the unseen for your sake, chosen one. Every time you wondered why their plan never reached completion, why disasters dissolved at the last moment, this was the reason. God Himself walked into the room where your enemies conspired and broke the operation apart. But let's not pretend you didn't feel the pressure. The heaviness in the air, the nights of tossing and turning, the moments you couldn't explain why your chest felt tight or why your spirit felt hunted. Those were the arrows of the attack, and some grazed you. They left marks, invisible scars, evidence that the battle was real. But listen closely. Scars are not signs of defeat. They are testimonies of survival. The enemy wanted the wounds to silence you, but God turned them into proof that you were protected. Those scars whisper louder than the pain ever did. They say, the target was chosen, but the target was untouchable. And here is the deeper truth. The attack was never about your present. It was about your destiny. The enemy saw what was ahead of you before you even glimpsed it. He saw the open doors of influence, the divine appointments waiting in your future, the authority rising in your voice. That's why the operation was launched so fiercely. It was an attempt to stop what heaven had already decreed. Doesn't it all make sense now? The sudden betrayals, the unexplained jealousy, the heavy rejection. It was never about who you are now, but who you are becoming. How many times did you step into situations that felt like traps, only to watch them dissolve at the last possible moment? How many confrontations never reached the explosion point? How many betrayals fell short? How many disasters never landed on your head? That wasn't random. That wasn't luck. That was divine interception. While you slept, heaven was working. While you worried, angels were fighting. The Spirit is saying right now, you don't even know how many strikes were stopped before they could reach you. Chosen one. That should make you lift your hands and thank God, because unseen victories are the most powerful victories of all. And never forget this truth. If you were attacked with such intensity, it is because you carry something the enemy fears desperately. Nobody invests that much energy into destroying someone ordinary. Nobody gathers forces in the unseen to dismantle someone irrelevant. The fact that you were the target is the loudest confirmation that you are extraordinary. This is your proof. This is your evidence. The attack didn't define you. The broken operation did. Heaven is announcing over your life right now. You cannot be stopped. And before we continue, I want you to type in the comments right now the word untouchable to declare in faith what the enemy already knows but fears to admit. Chosen one. The enemy has been studying you more closely than you realize. He watches the way you respond to pain, the way you react when you feel abandoned, the exact cracks in your heart that he believes he can exploit. His strategy is never random. He calculates, he waits, he observes. But what he failed to comprehend is that every time he thought he found a weakness, God had already been fortifying you in that exact place. Your tears watered strength, your struggles built walls of resilience, and your prayers summoned angels who stood guard when you couldn't. You've been more protected than you even knew. But let's go deeper. How did the enemy try to carry out this operation? By using people. That's his favorite weapon. Someone close to you suddenly turned cold. A trusted friend started echoing lies. A family member seemed strangely against you without explanation. These weren't just coincidences, they were pawns being moved on the board of spiritual warfare. The enemy whispered lies into ears that were open, twisting words, inflaming emotions, and turning hearts against you. But what he didn't expect was that God would pull back the curtain and reveal who was really for you and who was not. Imagine the arrows flying, lies spoken in hidden rooms, envy festering in secret hearts, curses whispered under breath. But every single arrow was met by an invisible shield. You didn't see the angels standing guard, but they were there. You didn't hear the clash in the spiritual realm, but heaven was fighting on your behalf. If those arrows had landed, you would not be here. But instead of piercing you, they were intercepted, dissolved in midair by divine authority. That's why some things never even reached your ears, some betrayals never reached your skin, and some plots never even made it out of the planning stage. And here's something you need to understand. The enemy doesn't always come with open war. Sometimes he comes with isolation. He wanted you to feel utterly alone, abandoned by everyone, rejected without reason. And if you've ever sat in that silence, wondering why people withdrew, wondering why you were misunderstood, you've felt this exact attack. But listen carefully, chosen one. That isolation wasn't rejection. It was protection. God was pulling you away from polluted voices, cutting ties with contaminated hearts, and placing you in a sacred space where He could speak to you clearly. You see, the enemy wanted your loneliness to break you. He thought silence would destroy your spirit. But instead, in the quiet, your ears began to tune to heaven. You started to sense things differently, discern with sharper vision, and hear whispers from the Spirit you would have missed in the noise. That's the paradox of the attack. What was designed to suffocate you became the very environment where your gift matured. The prison became the training ground. The wilderness became the womb of destiny. What felt like abandonment was actually alignment. But let me ask you this. Why would so many rise against you if you had done nothing? Why would you carry the weight of battles you never started, wars you never chose? Why would doors suddenly close right when you were closest to break through? The answer is simple, yet profound. The enemy recognized your identity before you did. He saw the seed of greatness before it bore fruit. He feared the sound of your voice before you even spoke it with authority. That is why the operation was so fierce, so relentless. Because what you carry terrifies the kingdom of darkness. Chosen one, understand this truth. The entire storm was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to distract you from discovering who you really are. The enemy's greatest fear is not your past, not your present pain, it is your future. And the reason the operation failed is because God's hand is on your destiny. The fact that you are hearing this right now is proof that the plan did not succeed. The weight you've carried, the strange rejection you've endured, the sudden betrayals you've faced, all of it is evidence that your calling is far greater than you imagined. And the revelation of why this happened is about to unfold in ways that will shake your spirit awake. Here is the truth you need to hear. The enemy launched this operation because he saw something you didn't see yet. He saw the crown over your head before you even knew it was there. He saw the authority in your spirit before you dared to believe it. The enemy isn't threatened by your present circumstances. He is terrified of your future manifestation. That's why he tried to shut you down before you stepped into it. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you are destined to rise. This was a preemptive strike, a desperate move to stop what heaven had already decreed. Think about it. Why does darkness always move violently when light is about to shine? Why does the opposition intensify right before a breakthrough? It is because the enemy knows he cannot erase what God has written, but he can try to distract you, discourage you, and detour you. That's what this operation was. Not destruction, but distraction. Yet God broke it apart before it could succeed, because his plans cannot be undone. Look at the stories written in Scripture. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers and thrown into a pit, not because of what he was in that moment, but because of the dream of greatness inside him. David was hunted down by Saul, not because of what he had done, but because of the anointing on his life pointing him toward the throne. Do you see the pattern, chosen one? The greater the promise, the greater the attack before it manifests. You are living in the same script, and that is why you were targeted so heavily. The enemy always tries to kill the promise before it is born. That is why Pharaoh tried to slaughter the Hebrew children before Moses could rise. That is why Herod ordered the massacre of infants before Jesus could fulfill his mission. And that is why the enemy has been launching these subtle but fierce operations against you. Because he fears what you will become once you fully step into your calling. But here is the good news. Every single attempt has already failed, because God's decree over your life is untouchable. Chosen one, every broken trap, every dismantled plan, every invisible battle you didn't even know was fought on your behalf is proof of your untouchable status. If the attack had been about something small, it would have fizzled out quickly. But the reason it was so relentless, so calculated, so heavy, is because it was about something monumental. The enemy doesn't waste resources on someone insignificant. The very size of the attack is the measure of the size of your destiny. Let me ask you this. If the plan to destroy you was so detailed, why did it collapse so quickly? If so many voices were raised against you, why did their words fall to the ground powerless? If so many traps were laid, why did they break apart before you ever stepped into them? It's because the hand of God broke the operation into pieces before it could even take root. The Spirit is saying to you right now, I stopped it because what is written cannot be erased. My promise over you is sealed. And now comes the revelation. The failure of the attack is the greatest confirmation of your victory. The fact that you are here, breathing, watching, listening, proves that the enemy lost before the battle even began. What was designed to bury you has become the stage where God's glory will be revealed in your life. This is not just survival. This is prophecy fulfilled. And by the time you reach the end of this message, you will understand why your very existence terrifies the kingdom of darkness. Now you must understand the greater purpose of the attack. Every battle you faced was not wasted. It was training. Each arrow aimed at you became resistance that strengthened your spirit. Each night of tears became oil that increased your discernment. The enemy thought he was breaking you down, but heaven was secretly building you up. That is why you emerged sharper, stronger, and more alert. What others saw as setbacks were actually supernatural drills preparing you for the mission ahead. Without the fight, you would not carry the authority you walk in now. And here's another revelation. The attack revealed the enemy's fear more than it revealed your weakness. Why would darkness gather so many resources just to silence one voice? Because that one voice carries weight in the spirit. Because when you speak, chains break. Because when you move, atmospheres shift. The size of the attack is proof of the size of the threat you are to the kingdom of darkness. The enemy was not showing his strength. He was exposing his desperation. He fears you stepping into your true role. Think of yourself as a blazing fire, chosen one. A fire does not chase moths, but moths are drawn to it, even though they are destroyed when they touch it. That's what happens with your spiritual energy. You radiate something irresistible, and both light and darkness recognize it. People are drawn to you without understanding why, and some attack you because your very existence exposes what is hidden in them. They cannot stand the reflection of your light because it uncovers their shadows. Yet no matter how many try to touch the flame, the fire of God inside you cannot be put out. God even allowed parts of the attack to come close, not to destroy you, but to prove something unshakable, that nothing touches you without divine permission. Job's story reminds us that the enemy needs approval to strike, and even then, the limit is set by heaven. The pain you felt was real, but it never crossed the boundary of God's will, and that boundary was your salvation. What was designed to kill you could only scratch the surface, because the Spirit of God drew a line and said, "No further." Now, take a moment to reflect. Have you realized how every time the pressure intensified, something greater emerged inside of you? That was not coincidence. That was God turning the enemy's weapons into your refining fire. You survived things that should have drowned you, but instead, they baptized you into a higher dimension of faith. You carried weights that were meant to crush you, but instead, they built your spiritual muscles. Can you see it now? Your survival is not ordinary. It is supernatural proof of your calling. And the Spirit is asking you right now, do you see that you are still standing because you were chosen, not because you were lucky? Do you recognize that the very things that were supposed to end you became stepping stones into your greater identity? You are not the same person you were before the storm. You are wiser, stronger, more awake, more dangerous to the enemy. That's why you carry a glow people can't explain. That's why you walk with a presence that makes rooms shift when you enter. This is the fruit of the broken operation. Chosen one, hear this carefully. You are entering a season where your light can no longer be hidden. God has stripped away every disguise, burned away every chain, and broken every plan that tried to cage you. This is your unveiling. No more hiding, no more shrinking, no more doubting. What the enemy tried to bury is now rising to the surface in unstoppable force, and the world will witness the very thing the attack tried to prevent, your divine purpose, shining unchallenged. This is why the enemy failed, and this is why your story is only beginning. The storm has passed, and now the Spirit is declaring something powerful over your life. The worst is already behind you. The operation that was built against you has been shattered, and now a divine shield surrounds you stronger than ever before. You may still feel the echoes of the battle, but you are no longer standing in the same vulnerable place you once were. God has upgraded your covering. Every arrow that comes near you now must bow before the authority of His presence. The time of constant fear is over, and a new season of divine rest is opening before your eyes. You are stepping into a place where peace is not the absence of war, but the presence of God's victory resting upon you. Chosen one, listen carefully. You are no longer just the target. The tables have turned. Where you were once hunted, now you carry the mantle of a warrior who hunts down the darkness. The Spirit is transforming your scars into swords, your wounds into weapons. The pain you endured is now being recycled into authority, and the very same enemy who stalked you is now terrified of the fire you carry. You are rising not as a victim, but as a conqueror, clothed in strength that was forged in the furnace of battle. Every tear you cried has become a weapon of intercession, and every rejection you felt has become a force of spiritual clarity. The hunter has become the hunted. And here is the most beautiful part of your restoration. Nothing you went through will be wasted. The scars on your soul, the betrayals you survived, the loneliness you endured, all of it is being transformed into a testimony that will set others free. What tried to silence you has instead amplified your voice. What tried to bury you has instead planted you deeper, and now your roots reach into living water. You are not coming out of this battle empty-handed. You are coming out with treasures, wisdom, discernment, authority, and an unshakable faith that no storm can ever steal again. Your story has shifted from survival to mission, and your restoration will not just bless you, it will awaken others who are still in the fire. Chosen one, let this sink deep into your spirit. The attack failed because God's word over your life is unshakable. The enemy's operation was detailed, calculated, and relentless, yet it collapsed like dust in the wind. Why? Because the promises of heaven are stronger than the schemes of hell. You were not spared by chance. You were spared by divine design. Every plot disintegrated. Every trap broke apart. Every whisper lost its power the moment God said, "Enough." What was meant to finish you became the evidence of your indestructibility. You are living proof that when God is for you, nothing and no one can stand against you. And now, I want you to take action in faith. If this message resonates in your soul, drop the word untouchable in the comments right now. Don't just watch silently. Declare it. Stamp it into the atmosphere. Let the enemy hear it echoed in every corner of darkness. When you engage with this message, you are not just interacting with a video. You are participating in a prophetic act, marking your alignment with heaven. Your comment becomes a spiritual decree. Your like becomes a sword raised against the adversary, and your subscription becomes a seal saying, "I refuse to walk unarmed in this battle." Chosen one, know this. What lies ahead of you is not more fear, but more freedom, more peace, more clarity, more supernatural encounters with the presence of God. The storm was not your ending, it was your unveiling. Now you will walk lighter, stronger, sharper. You will no longer doubt why the enemy targeted you. Instead, you will celebrate that the target could not be touched. God is about to multiply your influence, elevate your voice, and expand your territory because the enemy already confirmed it by attacking so violently. What was hidden will now be revealed, and your life will radiate divine evidence. And now I speak this closing blessing over your life. May your nights be filled with peace instead of torment. May your days overflow with clarity instead of confusion. And may your steps be ordered into victories that no attack can erase. Walk in confidence, knowing that the operation against you has been broken once and for all. The enemy's best shot was not enough, and now you stand unshaken, chosen, and untouchable. Remember this truth. Your story is not tragedy. It is triumph, not despair, but destiny. The best is not behind you. Chosen one, it is ahead of you, waiting to be revealed. This is your moment. Step boldly into it.